3.4 Graphing slope. When we look at lines, we can have a negative slope or a positive slope, and then we're also going to talk about a slope that is 0 or an undefined slope. And when we're looking at slope, we look from the left, and here our line is going down, so it's negative slope. If I look from the left on this one, then my line is going up, and so we're talking about a positive slope. If I have a horizontal line, then we're talking about a slope of 0. The letter M is how we represent slope. Then, if we look at a vertical line, the slope is undefined. And so often in my class I'll talk about if we had little cars, we could, if we were playing with little toy cars and we, let them roll down or push them up, whatever we were using, maybe a book to create a hill. We could drive a little car on a flat surface, but can't drive any kind of car here, real or pretend. It'll just fall. And so this is 0, and then the vertical line is undefined. And then something else to remember about these two lines is that if you have a horizontal line, its equation is that number. So y equals the number that on its axis that it's crossing. So here it would be y equals 3. And then this one also is x. So she probably should have did a different number because it's also 3. So we want to remember all that. Okay, so let's look at slope. Now, something you may remember about slope is what we call rise over run. This is another way for us. Well, this is the first way we're going to talk about how we find slope with rise over run, and it's when we're looking at a picture of a triangle. We're going to create a triangle and use this rise over run. And so what I want us to do, I want us to go ahead and practice this. So I want you to graph these ordered pairs. So I'm going to pause and give you a minute to graph it, and that way I can graph it. Give you a little bit of practice with that, and then we'll talk about the rise over the run. Okay, I hope you have a line that looks like this. What we're going to do is we're going to create a triangle. This is going to be one side of it, and we're going to take and do two other sides, and this is really small, but I'm connecting these two with a line. If I did something bigger, it'd be a straight down line and a line going over. Okay, I'm still not doing a very good job of drawing that. I have to use a bigger example. Here's your rise. It's 1. Your run here is 1. And we would want to simplify that fraction. We kind of just look at the graph or the line to determine if it is negative or positive. And so remember, when we look from the left side, If it's going down, then this graph is going to be negative. And so this is one thing that you're going to have to remember for this type of slope. When it's a visual graph that we're finding the slope, we're going to have to decide, is it negative or positive, and then use the triangle. Let's do another example. Let's let you go ahead and give me the points for that. Let's graph 3, 0, 0, negative 2, and 6 and 2. So go ahead and graph that. I'll pause with both graph and then we'll look at it. Okay, so your graph should look like this. Hopefully your line's a little bit stronger, straighter. Stronger too, probably. Okay, so I'm going to take and draw a line over and down to connect these two dots, and you see I have created a little triangle here. Then we want to count the boxes going up, 2, and across, 3. When I eyeball this slope, it's going up, so it's positive. And the top number, remember, is my rise, and then I have a run. The rise is what goes up. Remember, the rise is our up-down movement, and the run is going to be our right-left movement. So the slope here is going to be 2/3. Okay? Alright, I want to give you one more because I want you to practice finding the slope yourself. So let's take these ordered pairs. And go ahead and graph that and find the slope. And I'll do the same thing while you're working, and then you can compare. Okay, here's what we practiced on. So look at your graph, and then it's positive because it's going up. There's 1 box in my rise, and then there's 3 in my run. And so we have 1/3. A second way that we're going to look at slope is with a formula. And the formula, we're going to use 2 ordered pairs. The rise over the run, we use the triangle. And so let's go ahead and look at the formula. It's y2, and it's a subscript, not a square, minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And this is, remember, with ordered pairs. And so we have x1, y1, and then in our second ordered pair it'd be x2, y2. And so it'll help you if you'll label your ordered pairs. So I'm going to take 6 and 2 and 3 and 0. And these are 2 of the ordered pairs that we graphed earlier. I'm going to go ahead and label them x1, y1, x. See, this is the x and the y of the second ordered pair. Then I'm going to use my formula. My formula is a fraction, and it has minus in the middle. Pick up the y2 minus the y1 over the x2 minus the x1. We get -2 over -3, and 2 negatives will equal a positive, and so here we would have our slope using the formula. So we've got to do a way to do it with a picture graph, and then a way to do with when we just have information. So let's go ahead and try this. I'm going to go ahead and just let you go ahead and practice. And I will, on this practice, I will spend more time explaining things. So practice and then pause and then check your work. And so let's go ahead and look at the first one. We've got the ordered pairs 4 and -5, and 4, -4 and 1. Then I want you to do another one. Let's use 3 and 1 and -3, well, -1, something we graphed a while ago also. Remember, I do recommend that you label the points first, like this, so you make sure that you're picking up the right ones and at the right time. So go ahead and pause and do the practice. I always like to label mine first. Even with a lot of experience, you can make a simple mistake and pick up the wrong number at the wrong time. So this helps me. And then it's a fraction with 2 minuses, and so I just go ahead and do that also. y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. These two negatives are going to become a plus, so 1 plus 5, -4 and -4, -8. Pull the negative to the front, reduce the fraction. So here's our slope. y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1, -2 over -6. Two negatives become a positive. Divide by 2 to get our 1/3 for our slope. Okay, let us look at a third way to do slope. In this equation, m, remember we said m is the letter that represents slope. And notice it's with x. So whatever number is with x in front of x is our slope. So it will be important to have it in this form. Here it's already in the correct form, and so it's easy to pick out our slope. It's right there in front of x. So here the slope equals 3. Remember, it's what's in front of x. Now it appears to be nothing in front of x, but remember that 1 is here. We don't see it, and so here the slope is going to be 1. Those are going to be some of the easier problems because you're going to need to rearrange more often than not. So then your steps for solving equations come in handy here. We remember we're solving for y. So minus 2x, moving the constant, minus 2x. Y equals 6 minus 2x, Or you could rearrange it to say negative 2x plus 6. Let's look at another one. Again, we want to get the y by itself. We will move the constant, or the variable rather. We're left with negative y equals minus 4 plus 4x. Then we want to divide by the negative 1 all the way across. And y equals 4 minus 4x, or y equals minus 4x plus 4. Okay, let's see. Yeah, I'm going to give you a couple to practice with. They're going to be a little bit difficult. Let's see if you rise to the challenge. Okay. That one shouldn't be too bad. Not or, and. This one will be a little bit difficult. Okay, what I want you to do is find slope. Alright, go ahead. Here it doesn't matter if y is on the left or the right. So my slope is just right there in front of the x. Again, it doesn't matter if the y is on the right or the left, but it does have to be by itself. So that's 11 times y. We're going to divide by 11. Divide by 11. Well, remember the number in front of x is 1. Because when I rewrite this, I want to pull that fraction to the front because that's my slope. M equals 1/11. Okay, so how'd you do with that? I hope you did okay. Okay, I want us to graph some more. So go ahead and get some paper ready. And we're going to graph 2 sets of plots on the same coordinate system. So we can see what happens. Okay, so go ahead and get your paper ready for that. Put some coordinate systems on it. I want you to graph these 3 points and then these 3 points. Let me check my numbers. Negative 2, 6, 0, 8, negative 5, 3, 0, negative 2, 3, and 1, and negative 2, negative 4. Okay, graph those. And then we're going to graph these points on another coordinate system. We'll have 2 lines. Okay, and so what we're doing is we are wanting to graph these, and then we're going to compare the lines. And then we're going to find the slope of each line. Okay, and then we'll draw some conclusions about our lines. Okay, so go ahead and let's do that. I'll take you a little bit. Again, I'm going to just pause also and do all the work so that when you turn it back on, it will be everything done, and then if you have a line that's incorrect, then you can pause me again and double check what you did before we continue. Okay. Okay, after graphing these, you should notice that these two lines are parallel. And so when you look at them, you want to notice also that their slopes are the same. Go over, and then over 2, down 2, down here, 3, 3. Anywhere you want to go when you come in and do your rise over run here, you've got 3 over 3 at that point, so it equals 1. Here the same thing, 3 over 3 equals 1. So for parallel lines, we can say they have the same slope. So whether we're drawing them or whether we are getting the slope from the formula or from the equation, if they have the same slope, they are parallel. Now notice these lines are perpendicular. So let's compare their slopes also. Now these are a little bit harder. Let me do the blue one. So from here to there's my triangle. I've got 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's going down. So I have a minus 3/5 here as my slope. Then let's look at this one. I go from here to here. There's my triangle there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is my up, down, my run. And 1, 2, 3, because I'm going from here to here. 3 is, so that's my rise, this is my run. So M equals rise over run, and it's positive. So perpendicular lines, their slopes, two things. Notice that 1 is plus and 1 is minus. So opposite signs. And 3/5 and 5/3, the relationship between those two numbers, they are reciprocals of each other. Okay. So we want to keep this in mind when we are having to decide if two lines are parallel or perpendicular. Oh, don't put a top on it. We look at the slope. When I look at the slope of those two lines, I know that they're parallel. When I look at these two lines and I look at their slopes, they have opposite signs. 1/2 is the reciprocal of 2, and so then I know these are perpendicular. When I look at these two, and I look at their slopes, they have the same fraction, but one's negative, one's positive, so they're not parallel. And for them to be perpendicular, they'd have to be reciprocal. So these are neither. Something you want to remember here: always reduce the fractions. Don't forget to do this while you're doing your homework. Some other reminders that I want you to keep in mind. So let's just say this is just some review, is that if we want to find percent, to change a fraction to a percent, we'll change to a decimal first. Then move the decimal 2 places right. So if I had 3/5 and I want to change it to a decimal, we would fraction to a percent, change to a decimal first. We do that by division. So that's going to equal 0.6. Then I want to move it 2 places right to make it percent. Okay, you want to remember that. Something else that you want to remember is when you have a fraction and you set it equal to another fraction and perhaps you have some missing information. So you don't know this number. Remember, we're just making equivalent fractions. So it's times 11 to get this number. So we would do the same thing here so that x would equal 22. That's one way to do that. The other way would be to cross multiply. 2 times 33 equals 3 times x. 66 equals 3x. And then you would come through and divide by 3 to get 22. You're going to see some of this in your homework. This is why I'm trying to give you a little heads up as far as changing these things. They tell you, but I'm going to mention it here also, that the pitch of a roof is also slope. And so just keep in mind what we talked about. The triangle. This is, whoa, where did my picture go? This would be the run. That would be the rise. So just keep that in mind also as you're doing your homework. Okay. As always, if you have questions, hit that Ask My Instructor button and send me a question. Send me your information, your work. If you just don't know what to do at all, then look at the video again and see if it's covered. I think everything's covered at some point, and just watch it over again. Or you can look at the author's videos, or you can also go to Khan Academy. There's other things that you can do, but hitting that Ask My Instructor button is a good place to start. Good luck.